Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. This video is something interesting because I came across this about last year or last year, I don't remember exactly, and I felt I had to do a video about this. This is basically the Lion King Broadway Iceberg list. Now what an iceberg list is basically it's a collection of trivia or facts that explain how how a movie or a TV series or something came to be. The top of the iceberg, which is the part that we see, represents all the great things about the IP, the intellectual property we're talking about, the great things or the things that we can see. The bottom of the iceberg represents the things that we cannot see, all the garbage and the crap that had to be filtered out before the IP became what we see it now to be. So with the Lion King Broadway, I was very surprised to find that someone had done an iceberg list for Lion King, because I never expected that Lion King Broadway would get an iceberg list. I thought the movie would get one, but not the Broadway show. So I was surprised. I found this on Reddit, by the way. And how we are going to go do this is I'll start from the bottom of the iceberg and go all the way to the top, because that's how life works. You start from something bad and you end up at something good. So without further ado, let's begin the video. Alright, now starting from the bottom, it's a reference to a song. Starting from the bottom, we have here Zazu concept art, Giant Crocodile on Tour, Pearl Divers Adlib, Nala's Sliding Squares, Scrapped Mole Rat Puppet, Papa Croc, the Vegas Gladiator Second Act Draft. The Zazu concept art is something very interesting. I'll touch on this several times as we go through the list of things. When they were developing the show, obviously this story has animal characters, and animals are not all the same size. The size differences in the animal species of Lion King are drastically different. For instance, you have lions and hyenas that are kind of big. The average hyena is about half the height of a lion. Then you have a monkey. Then you have a small bird and a mongoose. And you have a pig. So it's quite a size range there. And the challenge was they had to represent all these different animal species convincingly. For instance, how do you show a bird flying around like Zazu, or how do you show a meerkat walking around like Timon? So when they were developing Zazu's costume, Julie Taymor's initial idea was a dude in a tux with a giant bird mask. This was her initial idea. When they figured out that this looks very jarring next to the lion characters, they eventually came up with the puppet design, the handheld puppet, and they had to get rid of the whole mask concept, like the giant bird mask. If you look at the picture, it looks really ridiculous. They did something similar with Timon also, but we'll get there. The next thing is Giant Crocodile on Tour. Now, if you have seen the touring production at any time, you'll notice that for the waterfall scene where Timon almost drowns in a waterfall, they have a crocodile there, a giant crocodile that Timon fights with, and it's kind of it's kind of weird looking in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I remember the first time I saw it in a bootleg of one of the touring productions from I think 2006. I don't remember. It looked really funny. There's giant crocodile and Timon is stuck inside it. It looks weird. Then you have the Pearl Divers Adlib. I have no idea what this is referring to. I guess this is with reference to one of the funny things Timon says when he comes out of the water after that, after almost getting eaten by crocodiles. Then Nala's Sliding Squares. I have no idea what this is. I tried to research this as much as I could, but I couldn't find anything about this. If any of you know what this is referring to, please mention it in the comments. Then you have the Scrapped Mole Rat Puppet. Now this is nothing but the funny little mole rat character who pops up at the end of Morning Report. When they had the Morning Report in the show, this character would come up and be like, Zazu, news from the underground. And then he would tell Zazu about the hyenas and then they would transition to the scene with Simba and Scar. When they cut Morning Report from the show, they got rid of the puppet also. I think the puppet now they keep in like display at the theater or during like exhibitions. That's it. Papa Croc. Now, Papa Croc and the Vegas Gladiator second act draft is something really crazy. When they initially asked Julie Taymor to do the show, according to a USA Today article, this is what it says. Julie Taymor had pitched a different ending for the beloved Disney play, and it had to do with Las Vegas, an animal show, and a villain named Papa Croc, according to Time. And here's a quote from Julie Taymor. She says, "In my original idea, Simba doesn't go back at all. That never happened. Instead, he goes to the desert, and in the desert, he comes out of the jungle and he sees Vegas. Papa Croc, presumably an evil crocodile, strikes up a deal with Scar to buy all the water in the land and create a desert oasis in the form of Las Vegas. And here comes Simba, the wild beast from the jungle, and he falls for Papa Croc because he doesn't have a father. Simba then, of course, gets betrayed by Papa Croc and gets placed in an animal gladiator show where he has to fight others to the death. Understandably, Disney was not too crazy about the idea and Taymor scrapped the plan. And then she says, I still think it would be fun to make." And in another article, she says, I came up with an outrageous idea that I still would like to do. They had said you're completely free, and I thought the original script wasn't just short, but it was sketchy. So I had this idea when Simba becomes the teenager. He's so morose and lost. He looks out at the desert, and in the shimmering, like you see in the desert when you go out to Nevada, he saw this incredible mirage of light, this glimmering city, and he starts to run. This is with reference to the fantasy Las Vegas. And then Michael Curry, who helped design the puppets, says, Julie's first notions were wild. Simba was a prize fighter in a Vegas world. I was there the day she pitched it, and their jaws were on the floor. And then Julie Taymor continues to explain, I thought this would be a ball to create. A city where you have half human, half animals. Humanimals. I used all kinds of lounge lizards, alley cats, and I made a substitute father figure in Papa Croc, who is this Don King character. It's so insane now when I tell it that I kind of have to laugh, but it was freeing. They put Simba as a gladiator in the ring and he becomes the Lion King, the toughest boxer, wrestler, the biggest star, and all the pussycats love him. Timon and Pumbaa are caught and are getting groomed to be put in the gladiator ring. And then I made a character called Natasha, who was a leopard, half human and half car, that was rushing from the Disneyland Vegasy place back to Scar, who had sold the water rights to Papa Croc. Nala comes to find Simba, who is supposed to fight Timon and Pumbaa in the ring, and the four of them get together, go back, and there's a fight with the hyenas. And you like just reading that shows how wacky and outlandish this concept was. And I'm really glad they went with the movie ending instead of whatever this was supposed to be. So that's the first layer of the iceberg, the bottommost layer. Now we are moving on to the second layer of the iceberg. And here we have mentioned Scar's cane implies a missing leg, wedding cake Pride Rock concept, bug boxes, Broadway.com message board vitriol, the Antarctica prank, Timon and Mufasa in The Little Mermaid 2, and Dinosaur. Okay, so starting off with Timon and Mufasa thing at the bottom. The actors who played Timon and Mufasa. Timon was originally played by Max Casella, and Mufasa was originally played by Samuel E. Wright. Samuel E. Wright is best known for doing the voice of Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. And I remember when I was posting videos on my old channel, people used to come and say that Timon is Daxter. I had no idea who Daxter was, and turns out he's a video game character and quite popular, a popular video game character who also happened to be voiced by the guy who played Timon on Broadway. So that's a nice bit of trivia there. Then the Antarctica prank. Now, if you guys remember, in 2018, on April Fool's Day, Lion King posted videos saying that they were bringing the show to Antarctica. They showed like costume designs for Simba with like a big fur cape and polar bear fur pants. Then there was Zazu, who they made an emperor penguin, and they had the dancers like practice walking around like penguins. They said they were bringing the show in an ice theater and a bunch of other really outlandish ideas. And then it turns out that the whole thing was just an April Fool's prank. I was inspired at the time to design some costumes for like an actual bona fide winter themed Lion King show. I'll make a video about featuring those costumes a little later. Then there's the Broadway.com message board ritual. I have no idea what this is. I tried to research this and I could not find anything at all. Nothing remotely related to this. So if any of you people know something, feel free to mention it in the comments. Then we have things I'm more familiar with. If you read the Pride Rock on Broadway book by Julie Taymor, she mentions these three things. The bug boxes, Scar's cane implies a missing leg, and wedding cake Pride Rock concept. I'll start with the bug boxes. Now, in the original Broadway show, during the scene where Timon and Pumbaa get Simba to try eating bugs for the first time, how they show the bugs is that there are these little boxes, and the actor for Timon has to stamp on like a pedal attached to one of the boxes, and the box opens up to reveal butterflies and grasshoppers and caterpillars and a bunch of other things, and they have Simba to try these bugs. And one thing that Julie Taymor mentions is that during the tryouts in Minnesota, these bug boxes were always malfunctioning, that they never used to work properly. And they managed to fix it by the time it got to Broadway though, because I have a bootleg of the original Broadway cast and it seems to be working pretty fine. But personally, I don't like this concept. I prefer the way they did it in like subsequent productions. If you remember, if any of you have seen the 2000 Los Angeles bootleg, you'll remember that the bugs are shown like as a bunch of like sliding bushes, and there is no box or anything that they have to stamp on. They just like appear straight out from the wings, and you can see the bugs clearly. I thought that idea was much better. So yeah, I'm glad they didn't continue with the bug boxes. Do they still have the bug boxes in on Broadway? I'm not sure. If someone can confirm, that'd be really helpful. Then Scar's cane implies a missing leg. Now the character designs for the Broadway version of Lion King are obviously a bit different from the way they look in the movie. And one of the most notable examples is Scar. In the movie, Scar has a thick black mane, and in the Broadway show, he doesn't have a black mane. His mane looks kind of short and it's blonde. And like all the bamboo sticks that are sticking out from his costume are supposed to represent that he's very scruffy and unhealthy looking. And additionally, in Pride Rock on Broadway, it's mentioned that Julie Taymor gave Scar a cane because her design for Scar, he has only 3 legs. One of his legs is missing. And at the end of the like final battle, Scar loses his other leg as well when like Simba pulls the cane from him. And so that's why Scar has trouble getting up. That's why he asks the hyenas to help him get up at the end. So yeah, that's kind of messed up. I like imagine a lame Scar with like one of his legs is just a stub. It's kind of pathetic looking. I think it helps sell the idea that Scar is this very vicious character, even though he seems like very innocent on the like outside. It doesn't seem like much of a threat. Last of all, the wedding cake Pride Rock concept. This is something absolutely bonkers. If you have the Pride Rock on Broadway book, you might have seen a sketch for this. When they originally when they started out designing the show, Julie Taymor's initial concept for Pride Rock was that it would like rise out of the stage in layers, and it would look like a wedding cake, like about like 3 or 4 layers of steel, and the animals would go up and down around the rings of the cake. And I'm so glad that set designer Richard Hudson said, no, let's not do this. Here's a better idea. And he presented the Pride Rock design that is followed in all the stage productions today. So that's about the wedding cake Pride Rock concept. And with that, we finished the second last layer of the iceberg. And now we move on to the next layer, which is Zazu's slinky neck, Timon concept art, elephant's name, backpack heads concept, the hyenas were combat boots, and Pumbaa's eyes move. Okay. The Zazu puppet has a slinky in the neck. If you don't know what a slinky is, next time when you visit your baby cousin, make sure, just see what kind of toys they might have. A slinky is basically like a spring. It's kind of wobbly. You can stretch it and press it together. It's a really fun toy to play with. Zazu's neck has a mini slinky inside it to help the actor exaggerate Zazu's neck movements. The Timon concept art is like I mentioned earlier that when they designed Zazu, originally he had a full body costume instead of a puppet. The same thing was the case with Timon. Timon's costume, one of the original ideas was that the Timon actor would wear a huge costume and his mask would expose the lower half of his face. He would have pants that look like the like a full body suit that looked like the body of a meerkat. And when Julie Taymor figured out that this doesn't show the human being enough, because her idea was that the human being should always be visible. When she realized this, she scrapped this idea. There's a beautiful painting she made of the design. It's there in the Pride Rock on Broadway book. And thankfully this thing was scrapped, because I can't imagine someone doing this. They already have a concept like this for the Disney on Ice show and the Disneyland parks as well. So I'm glad they didn't go with the full costume Timon and instead went with the Bonraku puppet Timon. The elephant's name, you remember the giant elephant that comes during Circle of Life at the beginning? Yeah, the elephant's name is Bertha apparently. If you watch any of the, I think they did a video recently on Instagram and featuring this elephant puppet. The elephant's name is Bertha. So that's something fun to know. Then there's the backpack heads concept. Now again, this has to do with the development of the costumes for the characters. Among the first characters they designed costumes for were the two of the main lions, that is Mufasa and Scar. And the initial idea for these characters' costumes was Mufasa's mask would hang like a backpack behind him. And when the actor needed to go into the aggressive animal mode, he would pull this mask from behind him and bring it in front of him. Something similar was there with Scar, except Scar, the actor, had to wear the two halves of the mask on both of his arms. And when he needed to bring to show the aggressive side of the character, he'd bring his arms together, and the mask would form the full face of Scar. They dropped this idea as well. And there were a bunch of other ridiculous ideas that they tried out for the characters, all of which got scrapped. Then there's the fact that the hyenas wear combat boots. I don't know what's the issue with this. This is just this is true. They wear combat boots. Then Pumbaa's eyes move. Personally, I've never observed this. I don't remember the actors manipulating Pumbaa's eyes. Primarily they manipulate his mouth and his tongue. That's it. I've never seen them do anything with his eyes. If the eyes are movable, that's kind of freaky actually. Now we move to the fourth from last layer of the iceberg. Here we have Morning Report removed, Sarafina ate Banzai's dad, who operates the elephant, Timon fights, Cheetah Giraffe motif, Monkey King in Shanghai production, 2011 9-minute cut. Okay. So the first line you have Morning Report removed. Now in about 2011, in 2011 when the 3D re-release of Lion King came out, They did some stuff in the Broadway show as well. The original cut of the movie, there was no Morning Report song. They added the Morning Report as part of the Laserdisc edition of the movie after the Broadway show premiered. The song Morning Report was originally written alongside Chowdown and the Madness of King Scar specifically for the Broadway show. So when they re-released the film in 3D, they released it in the original format without Morning Report in it. So as part of this, the Broadway show also decided to cut a bunch of stuff from the show, about 9 minutes actually, as mentioned in the thing below, the statement below. They cut the aerial dance interlude of "Can You Feel the Love Tonight." They cut some of the lines and the musical interlude of "Chow Down," and they cut the entire Morning Report song, and they cut the first half of "Madness of King Scar." All these cuts really pissed me off even today. The show was fine the way it was. I don't understand the need for these cuts. And these cuts, in my opinion, they kind of affect the story a bit, especially the Madness of King Scar cut. And I believe Zazu deserves a musical number of his own. I mean, Sarabi gets one. She gets to do a Miriam Makeba cover with Nala and Rafiki. So why not give Zazu a song? I mean, Zazu has more of a presence in the story than Simba's mother does. So what is this? Then in Chow Down, there's a line that says, "Wasn't it her mom who ate your dad?" Shenzi sings this to Banzai. And well, if we know, if you're like a crazy Lion King fan, you know that Nana's mother's name is Serafina. So the implication is that Serafina ate Banzai's dad. And this is actually this does happen. Like sometimes lions eat hyenas. Hyenas also eat lion cubs. This kind of stuff does happen in nature. So it's kind of funny they included that in the show. Then the fact who operates the elephant. Three of the actors who operate the elephant puppet, actually they're the three hyenas, Shenzi, Banzai and Ed. Before they put on the hyena costumes, they appear on stage operating the elephant puppet. So that's something interesting to know. And in the final fight, Timon fights along with the other characters. The original tryout version in Minnesota, they stuck more closely to the movie. There was a part during the fight where Timon is cornered by hyenas and Pumbaa comes in and he does the "Are you talking to me?" thing. They changed that to focus mainly on the action, and they had Timon and Pumbaa fight the hyenas as well. And the way they fight was also really weird. Like Pumbaa he eats one of the hyena's heads apparently, and Timon slaps a hyena on the face. A bunch of other weird things that if you pay closer, if you think about it too much, it'll ruin the show for you. So don't do that. Then there's the cheetah giraffe motif. Now when they were doing the show, they needed a transition scene between the end of Be Prepared and the beginning of the Stampede. In the movie, it's just direct cut to the next scene, the scene in the canyon. But in the Broadway show, because they needed time to set up the canyon set, they thought of something called the there is a name for this, I don't remember. It's some kind of pause, I don't remember the name. Yeah, so so what they did was they had a cheetah chasing a giraffe basically. There at first they'd show the pair of giraffes in the form of shadow puppets, and the cheetah dancer would be following them, and then an actor dressed in the giraffe costume will come out, and then the cheetah will follow that giraffe. And that's what happens right before we see Scar and Simba enter the scene. Then the Monkey King. Now the Monkey King is I think he's a Chinese folk character. He appears during the I Just Can't Wait to Be King scene. He was included in the Shanghai production. I don't know from which year. Was this in the mid 2000s or 2019? I don't remember. I think it was 2019 when they put the Monkey King in there. So that's the fourth from last layer of the iceberg. We are now arriving at the fifth from last layer of the iceberg. Here we have fake wood masks, the Charleston hula river dance La Bamba, anthill lady slash guinea fowl, circles everywhere. That's how you beat Angry Birds, Whoopi guest appearance, Insta account's obsession with weekends. Okay, so about the fake wood masks. Now, all the puppets and masks in The Lion King are designed to look like they're carved from wood or baked with clay. Actually, the material used to make these masks is something called carbon fiber. It's used in sports cars and aeroplanes. It's very tough, but at the same time very lightweight as well. And they paint these carbon graphite masks to look like painted wood. If they used actual wooden masks, I'm telling you, in 1 week, all the actors will have severe neck pain. And the next day when they come to perform the show, Mufasa's neck will be like will snap during the scene where he falls from the cliffside. So this is a nice compromise, nice way substitute for using actual wooden masks. Then there's the Charleston hula slash river dance slash La Bamba. Depending on the production, there is a variation in what Timon and Pumbaa do to distract the hyenas. When in the original Broadway production, they did the Charleston. Charleston is a dance form that dates back to the 1920s. Timon wears a tiara and he and Pumbaa dance around to distract the hyenas. In more recent productions, they began to do the hula number from the movie. In Spanish productions, they do something called the La Bamba. I've heard the name river dance before, but I don't know exactly what that is. For La Bamba, Timon wears like a belly dancer costume, and that's how he distracts the hyenas. Then there's an anthill lady slash guinea fowl. During the scene where Mufasa explains the circle of life to Simba, a lady comes out wearing a really interesting costume. Basically, it's a cone-shaped spiral, and as the lady moves around, the spiral spins, and attached to each of the rings of the spiral are these big ant puppets. They're supposed to represent an ant, like a bunch of ants climbing up an ant hill. Then there's the guinea fowl. Now, I'm not sure about this. I remember reading somewhere that during I Just Can't Wait to Be King, the giant birds on which Simba and Nala ride are not supposed to be ostriches but guinea fowl. And I'm so confused. They clearly look like ostriches. They have the size and scale of ostriches. In the movie also, there's a brief scene where these two ride on ostriches. Why would they ride on guinea fowl? Guinea fowl are tiny compared to lions. I'd be more inclined to say that the white birds that appear during Circle of Life at the beginning are guinea fowl. Because in the movie, if you remember, there's a clip where there's a shot where guinea fowl run into the screen followed by elephants kicking up dust as they walk. So yeah, I'm of the opinion that the giant birds in Just Can't Wait to Be King are ostriches, and the small white birds in Circle of Life are the guinea fowl. Then there's the thing about circles everywhere. Now, when Julie Taymor and Richard Hudson, they were designing the show, they felt that the theme of the show, that is the circle of life, should be reflected in the costume design as well as the set design of the show. So you have Pride Rock that comes spinning out from under the stage. It looks like a semicircle. The sun is a giant series of aluminum rods with silk attached to them. Then there's the what I call the antelope bicycle, which is a series of puppets that represent leaping gazelles, and it's all with wheels. Then there's the giant circular water hole that they pull under the stage to represent the water drying up. And then you have Mufasa's mask, which is shaped like a circle. Circles everywhere. Yeah, there are circles everywhere in the show. Even in light changes for some scenes, the circles are shown. The concept of the cycle or the circle passing through. So yeah, that's true. Circles are everywhere. Because they wanted to show the theme of the story as clearly as possible. Then there's the line, "That's how you beat angry birds." I think this is another one of the like ad libs that Timon says when he comes out of the waterfall. That's nothing. I guess it's kind of cringe that they make an Angry Birds reference. I think they used to do that in the like older productions. Now they don't do that anymore. Then something else that happened is in 2008, Whoopi Goldberg, who was the voice of Shenzi in the movie, she made a guest appearance in the show. She There's a video clip of this on YouTube. You can look it up. Whoopi Goldberg, Lion King, Broadway. She made a special appearance as one of the like white birds. Then she appeared as Shenzi herself, and then she appeared as Rafiki during the Mufasa's ghost scene. And that was something interesting that happened. I remember more recently seeing a clip of James Corden and Tom Cruise in I believe one of the touring shows. Tom Cruise was Pumbaa, James Corden was Timon. That clip is available on YouTube as well. Then there's the Insta account's obsession with weekends. Yeah, during the early days of the Lion King Broadway shows, the Instagram account, they used to make a lot of posts saying that, hey, we are excited because it's the weekend and other such things. So that's what that refers to. Now we come to the next part of the iceberg. We are reaching the top now. So we have your story changes make Simba's pride impossible. Pumbaa catches fish. Junior version cuts. Shower curtains from local store here. Only baby elephant in finale. Broadway CD recording is incomplete. Now this is really interesting part of the iceberg. The first part, story changes make Simba's pride impossible, deserves a video on its own. I'll probably do that in the future. Then there's the Pumbaa catches fish. Now after Timon is rescued, Timon throws up a fish and Pumbaa catches that fish. That's what that refers to. I guess warthogs are omnivorous. They eat like fruit as well as insects. So I won't be too surprised if it turns out that warthogs eat fish as well. Then for the junior version, now Disney has some officially licensed junior versions of some of their Broadway shows, including Lion King. And for the junior versions, there are two versions. One is for primary school kids, one is for middle school kids. Now, for both these versions, what they've done is they've cut down the length of the show in many ways. They've cut down the length of the musical numbers as well as the amount of lines in the store in the show, because we're having little kids perform. We shouldn't expect little kids to go on singing and dancing for 2.5 hours. That's not possible. So obviously they had to make some cuts for the sake of the children. The cuts are unfortunate, I agree. I wish they had been cut a little differently. I've listened to the junior soundtrack. I wish some of the songs were cut a little differently than what they did, but it is what it is. Then there's shower curtains from local store here. Yeah, this is something that Zazu says at the end of I Just Can't Wait to Be King, where the curtains come down. He says something like, I remember watching the bootleg of the original Broadway cast where he says, "These look like shower curtains from the Guggenheim." And in another, I think in the Los Angeles one, he says, "These look like shower curtains from IKEA." So that's what that refers to. It's kind of funny when it does that. At the beginning of the song, he says something. He says like, "This wasn't in the movie." So that's funny. Zazu, the actor who plays Zazu, gets to have a lot of fun, apparently. Then there's the fact that there's only the baby elephant in the finale. Now, the reason for this is, I mentioned this earlier, the baby elephant, the mama elephant, is operated by the hyena actors. So now when the hyena actors have done their part, they can't put on the costume again and come back as the elephant. They would have to the wings are kind of congested, so they would have to like really squish and stretch the elephant puppet in order to make a reappearance. So simply out of inconvenience rather, they don't have the mother elephant at the show, at the show's finale. Then there's the fact that the Broadway CD recording is incomplete. Now, when I first became a fan of the Broadway show, I did not realize this, but there is a huge difference between the original Broadway cast recording as well as every other cast recording of the show. And the main difference is that some of the songs are incomplete in the original Broadway cast recording. For the examples that mainly come to mind are Circle of Life, Be Prepared, and the finale, King of Pride Rock. With Circle of Life, at the beginning of the song, when they go Ingonyama Nengwenamabala, in the Broadway recording, that phrase is repeated 8 times, whereas in the actual performance, it's repeated 12 times. For Be Prepared, in the OBC recording, they don't have the dance break, whereas in every other recording, the dance break is there. And in the finale, they don't have the first part of like the Circle of Life refrain. They only have the part from Till We Find Our Place on the Path Unwinding. That's only where it is, like the movie. But when they did the Broadway show later on, they included the like first half of that verse as well. The reason is because when they did the Minnesota tryouts, they didn't have the scene where Rafiki presents Simba and Nala's baby to the animals. When they decided to include that scene, they figured they needed some extra time to get everything going, so that's why they included the like full refrain of Circle of Life instead of the second half of that verse. And now we have arrived at the part of the iceberg which we all can see. So far we were under the sea, freezing, dying. Now we are able to breathe again because we've reached the tip of the iceberg. Alright, so here we have the waterfall scene, chow down, be prepared, dance break, Rafiki's click story, double event, Mufasa Zazu scene, let it go, we are guests, we're dead soon, etc. Banraku puppetry. Alright. Now, the waterfall scene was something Julie Taymor specifically added because she felt that the story of the movie was incomplete, especially with regards to Simba's journey. And I kind of agree. In the movie, it is only implied that Simba still struggles with the pain of knowing that his father is dead and it's his fault. Even though he is Hakuna Matataing his way through his adolescence, he doesn't show Timon and Pumbaa the side of him that deals with this very dark past and is part of his childhood. So Julie Taymor felt like adding the waterfall scene would help show the audience that Simba is still struggling with this pain. The waterfall scene and the song Endless Night, both of them help convey this Simba's internal struggle. And I felt like adding this scene really helped strengthen the He Lives in You, the Mufasa's ghost scene, because during this waterfall scene, Simba feels helpless that it was his fault that Timon got in the waterfall, and because Simba was too scared, because of his PTSD, he could not step in to save Timon. So when Mufasa says, "Remember who you are my son and the one true king," it hits a little harder, and I think that's a good narrative addition. Then there's the songs that they added to the movie, the story, like Chow Down. I'd include Madness of King Scar and Morning Report as well. These three are really fun songs. Chow Down is sung by the hyenas when they chase Simba around the elephant graveyard. It's a bit of a hard rock number. And then these hyenas sing this song to scare the kids. And they're talking about eating them up and all that. Then there's the Be Prepared dance break. I think that's really fun as well. During the dance break, a bunch of dancers dressed in like pants and boots and helmets that are shaped like hyena heads. They appear and do this very energetic, like hip hop inspired dance break. And during the whole scene, everyone breaks character. Even Scar, he grabs his tail and he starts swinging it around and stuff. That's a nice addition to the story. Then Rafiki's click story. Now this thing has a very interesting origin. When they were doing the scene for when Rafiki paints Simba, the original concept for that scene was Rafiki would be sitting on a giant globe. And there would be a world map and everything. And Rafiki would tell a story about, and using her magical powers, she would make the sun and the clouds move around. And when they figured that this set would be way too expensive to construct, during a table read, Sidi Leloka was the South African actress who originated Rafiki's role. She began to improvise a bunch of funny stories from South Africa. And then the showmakers thought, you know what, let her go nuts. Let her do this. It's much better than our giant globe idea. And that's how Rafiki began to tell the click story. Now the story, from what I can understand, is just a funny story about the sun and the rain. Nothing crazy going on. It varies from actress to actress. Different actresses may do it in different languages, but it's just meant to be like a fun, like fourth wall breaking kind of thing. That's all it is. Then there's the Mufasa slash Zazu scene. Now this scene was also something that was specifically added to help transition from one scene to another. Remember I said that they added the cheetah chasing giraffe scene to give the stagehands time to set up the wildebeest stampede set piece. Well, when they were developing the show, they felt this didn't give the stagehands enough time, and there needed to be a like proper scene to help them like transition from the previous scene to the next scene. So Roger Ailes and Irene Mecchi, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, they came up with this scene where Mufasa and Zazu have a chat about Simba's behavior. And I think this is one of my favorite scenes from the whole show. It's a really good scene. I'm glad that they added this scene to the story. Then there is the Let It Go, Be Our Guest, We're Dead Soon, etc. These are the songs that Zazu sings to entertain Scar at the beginning of the second act. In the initial productions, in the original Broadway show, Zazu sang Be Our Guest. Then in subsequent productions, he sang the like coconut song from the movie. In more recent productions, he sings Let It Go. And I remember hearing the song We're Dead Soon somewhere, but I can't really put my finger where. Then there's the Bunraku puppetry. Bunraku puppetry is a form of puppetry that is native to Japan. Basically, an actor wears a black costume or something, and he manipulates a giant human-sized puppet or a puppet that is slightly smaller than him, and he tells the story using this puppet. It can be a bit uncanny looking at times, but Julie Taymor used this technique to help design the Timon puppet. So that's that. And now we've come to the sky, the part of the iceberg beyond the iceberg itself. And here we are at the best parts of the show. Shadowland, Endless Night, He Lives in You. Main characters have masks, side characters have puppets. Highest grossing Broadway show, Rafiki Gender Bend, Insult Scar, Nala's and Rafiki's expanded roles. These are all fairly self-explanatory. If anyone has watched the show live or watched bootlegs of the show, these all they're fairly obvious. We don't need to like explain it too much. Of course, the new songs. The Lion King has pretty amazing music. All 5 songs in the movie are great. Then the additional songs they wrote for the Broadway show are also pretty awesome. Like I mentioned earlier, Morning Report, Chow Down, and those songs which Elton John and Tim Rice wrote new for the show, as well as like stuff from the Rhythm of the Pride Dance album, which inspired Shadowland and Endless Night, as well as the song He Lives in You. All these are like great additions to the soundtrack. And then there's a thing about the main characters of masks, side characters of puppets. The only character who doesn't have any mask or puppet is Rafiki. She just has face paint, and her costume is designed to look like a monkey, a baboon specifically. So that's that. Then there's the fact that it's one of the highest grossing shows on Broadway. It's the third longest running show on Broadway as well. It opened in 1997, and it's been still going on all these years. People still are enthralled by the magic of the show. And one of my biggest dreams is to watch the show live. I've only seen this show through bootlegs and through TV recordings and other such things. I've never seen the show live. I almost had my chance last year in December, but unfortunately the tickets were too expensive. Flight tickets, I mean. So we couldn't make it to the show. Then there's the Rafiki Gender Bend. So when Julie Taymor was developing the show, she had a South African friend. When she spoke to her about like shamans in South Africa, her friend explained that most shamans there are females, they are women. And that's what inspired Julie Taymor to make Rafiki a female monkey. Now, because of this, they also had a character who could sing Circle of Life. And when they put He Lives in You, now Rafiki can sing He Lives in You as well. There is a more like spiritual side to Rafiki that is shown. Besides the movie accurate, funny side, the like crazy wisdom type thing. Rafiki sings a blessing in Sesotho in Shadowland. She and Little Nala and Sarabi sing morning song towards the end of the first act. The first half of this song is called Rafiki Moans. The second half is a cover of a Miriam Makeba song. It's called Milele. That's the name of the song. I don't know what language that is in. Is it in Kosa? I'm not sure. So that's something really cool that they did. Then there's Insult Scar. Yeah, now Scar is shown in the story as someone who was absolutely no qualms about forcing himself onto a young lioness like Nala. That's basically what that refers to. Yeah, Scar is pretty nasty in the movie, but in the show he's even nastier. That's cool. Something I wish that actors who played Scar did more was tap into Scar's queer side a bit. In the movie, the way Scar moves and the way he speaks, it's all a bit like bordering on effeminate, and I think that adds to the like fun aspect of his character that makes him enjoyable on screen. I wish actors who played Scar in the stage show did the same. And that would make Scar a little more exciting, a little more fun to watch. I'm not putting down the work of any actor who has played Scar. I think all of them have done a great job so far, be it George Asprey or the original Scar, which is John Vickery, or anyone. Any of the like all the actors I've seen, they've all done pretty good jobs playing the character. I just wish they tapped into his queer side a bit more. That's it. And then the last thing is Nala and Rafiki get expanded roles. That's also great. But and I mentioned Rafiki's expanded role in the story earlier. We see more of Rafiki's spiritual aspect. As for Nala, the main thing I can tell is that she, when she approaches Scar with the problems that the kingdom is facing, Scar instead tries to force himself onto her. And because of this, she gets upset. She sees that the only way out is if she seeks help from outside the Pride Lands. And as a result, she takes the initiative to leave the kingdom, and that's how she eventually ends up meeting Simba. That's the main expansion they've done to the role, I think, as far as I can tell. All the characters, I believe they have had justice done to their roles in the story, both minor and major characters. And overall, the show is lots of fun to watch. It's a true theatrical experience. It borrows everything from like very modern the techniques of theater to the oldest forms of theater, like shadow puppetry and using giant masks to tell the story and all that. So that was it for the Iceberg list of Lion King. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a very quick and random idea that I had. I had the idea to do this while making the paper gospel thing. And like I said earlier, I will do 2 other videos based on the Antarctica prank, as well as the story changes make Simba's Pride impossible thing. So stay tuned for those, and I hope you all have a great day or night or whatever it is, and goodbye.